Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, save COD charges by sending check or money order or use your credit card.
This is CNN.
From CNN International Correspondents, insights from journalists around the globe on events affecting your world.
Welcome to International Correspondents. I'm Rochelle in Washington. Even before the Soviet Union broke up, there were serious economic problems. Long lines outside stores with empty shelves and major shortages throughout the country. The problems have only become worse in the new Commonwealth.
We have seen Uzbeks die in bloody price riots. Russians shiver in bread lines. Hospitals without vaccines. Aeroflot planes grounded by a fuel shortage. And military officers continuing to protest the lack of adequate housing.
To help, the United States called an emergency conference of 47 nations and 7 agencies in Washington to discuss what could be done. President Bush promised the U.S. would help.
I'm proposing that the Congress approve over $600 million for new technical assistance and humanitarian efforts. In addition to the assistance already announced, this will bring to over $5 billion the level of various forms of U.S. assistance to these people in their time of need.
Germany is one of the biggest contributors to aid for the Commonwealth, but its foreign minister says more help is needed.
We need additional help. And for that reason, I think it was an excellent idea that the American administration invited this conference.
Commonwealth aid. With me to discuss the topics are Tom Brazaitis of the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Gerd Bruggeman with the German newspaper Die Welt, and Vladislav Drobkov with Pravda. Mr. Drobkov, let's start with you. We hear about how bad things are. We see the pictures on TV. Are they really that bad?
Unfortunately, they are. Unfortunately, they are. And in most places of different former Soviet republics were great shortages of food, medicine, and housing. And that's why people feel rather bad now in my country.
Is there some handle you can put on what is wrong? Is it a distribution system? Is it lack of money? Is it lack of the raw material? What?
Little by little everything, but mostly I think it's the failure of the distribution system and the failure of the old established links between different republics which were working somehow in the former Soviet Union but are not working now.
Is there any embarrassment from your people when it comes to asking for help, for money?
It is a great embarrassment, and quite a lot of people don't like it, and quite a lot of people want to do something themselves to help themselves by their own means, but to a certain places, to certain layers of population, the need is necessary, and I think that's an inevitable thing that we have to ask for some help now.
Okay, Mr. Bruggeman, Germany is one of the largest contributors to this, or has made a major contribution.
That's true.
And I think we're talking in terms of roughly $80 billion overall that has been promised, if you will, by a number of countries. What does Germany feel that they are doing with this money? How are they helping?
Well, there are different ways. They, of this $80 billion you mentioned, the Germans have given about, or pledged at least, like 57%. And they are different kinds of help. There are humanitarian help, food help, medications, and people going to the Soviet Union, assisting them, distributing these materials, and giving them advice how to establish distribution systems, getting the production going again, things like that.
Why is Germany so far out in front of everyone else on this?
Oh, that's easy. We are close to them, and we are very much interested to get the system going again, because as Mr. Genscher mentioned in this conference, when the countries in the East, that's not just the former Soviet republics, but Poland and Hungary and Czechoslovakia too, when they are not prosperous on a safe course to democracy, the West will not prosper in his way, and it might also become a security problem.
Do you see it more of an economic issue now than a security issue?
Well, at the moment it's probably an economic issue, but I mean, we all know that there are still some 40,000 or even more nuclear warheads in the republics, and we need to find a way to get them neutralized or at least concentrated in some place under one authority. And I think that's very much a security problem.
We
did not talk about this in Washington, at least not publicly, but I think it was very well on everybody's mind.
It is, and it's something we'll talk about a bit more in a minute. Mr. Brazaitis, how do you see this aid? Is the United States moving in the right direction?
Well, the United States, I think, is doing what it can, considering its own financial limitations now, with a budget deficit and the economy in shambles, and in an election year when foreign aid is the one issue that almost everyone of every conservative stripe feels is already too much, so anything more to that is a difficult political problem.
Do you think Mr. Bush was wrong in bringing up an issue like this right on the eve of the New Hampshire campaign?
Well, that is an interesting question that remains to be answered by the New Hampshire voters. He called this conference saying he didn't want it to be a pledging competition, and he opened it with a pledge. He was pressured into that in part by the Europeans who felt that the United States wasn't doing enough. I think in a way the United States can turn now to Germany and Japan, two of the beneficiaries of the Marshall Plan after World War II, and say, it's your turn, up to a point. What we're doing from the United States point of view is sort of a Band-Aid approach. The $645 million just pledged has to be passed by Congress, and that's over 2 years. That'll be a political sticking point. And the airlift that the president announced is very little, really, in terms of goods. It's Persian Gulf leftovers, and some of it was about to spoil anyway. So we're pulling it together in a patchwork way.
Mr. Drobkov, does the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, the Commonwealth, do they feel like they're being sort of given short shrift by the United States?
I think that is quite a number of people who think this way, because if we compare the aid which was given by other countries, for example by Germany, we can say that American help is 1/9 of it. 1/9 of it. And also when we are speaking about aid, we must define, for example, this 5 billion package. Its biggest part of it actually is not aid, it's credits, which were given to us and will be repaid. They will be repaid, and these credits goes mostly to American producing wheat and other necessary goods which were actually bought by Soviet Union, and the credits will be repaid. And with the
you mean you're not getting
actually it's not a great help. It's helping us. Actually, we are very grateful for it, but we can't call it in direct sense that this is a humanitarian aid. No. The humanitarian aid actually is much smaller, and I like very much the thing which Germans are doing. They are very precise in what they are trying to give us. For example, if they are giving money for the housing programs, they are trying either themselves or with the help of other companies, Turkish companies or whichever they can find, to build real houses. And this is actual aid that people see it and seen it. But most of the American aid, they can be easily find out in our countries, in different republics, to show just this is an American aid, besides of some humanitarian parcels and the leftovers from the desert storm.
We need to take it. Tom, excuse me just a second. We need to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
New Hampshire's not first in crime or taxes. They're not first in sports or music, but they're first in the presidential primary. And some folks think that makes them first to be lied to. Promises, Promises. Sunday night, 9 Eastern on CNN.
For over a decade, while cable television grew, the network TV executives sat back and watched. They sat around while cable created better programming, and they lost millions of viewers. Now, the network executives are sitting in Washington, asking for legislation that could result in an additional charge on your monthly cable bill. If they can't stand up to the competition, don't let them make you pay for it. Contact your congressman through this number and state your opposition to paying for free TV.
Lots of men have heard about minoxidil, and lots of men have heard about Rogaine. But lots of men don't know that only Rogaine has minoxidil, and only your doctor has Rogaine. For more information, call this number now.
If you want to get the complete story about Rogaine with minoxidil, what it does and how it does it, see your doctor or call 1-800-234-8364.
Upjohn Information Center.
That's 1-800-234-8364.
Wake up. Call 1-900-976-WAKE. Get out of bed and get ahead. Use your touch-tone phone. Call 1-900-976-WAKE. We're the wake-up that works, so why worry? Call 1-900-976-WAKE. Do it now. Only $2 per call. Depend on us. Call 1-900-976-WAKE. And wake up right. Wake up right. Wake up to us tomorrow.
Monday, a strong Japan. A new Soviet Commonwealth. What is the U.S. role in this changing world? America's image and the state of the people. A 1/2 hour special on CNN's Prime News. 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday.
Vince, remember how we got our jobs telling people to buckle up?
Yeah, it seems just like yesterday.
Next.
Buckle or not to buckle?
Next.
Defend.
Next.
We are never going to find a safety belt spokesperson.
Let's get buckled.
Yeah, we've helped save thousands of lives.
But some people still don't buckle up. So let's hit it.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Mr. Brazaitis, when we stopped, I interrupted you. You were about to say something.
Well, I think there would be a number of Americans, including those in political office, who agree with our colleague from Pravda that the United States ought to do more. One of them is Senator Biden, who said a new world order is being born and the United States might be absent at the creation, because it reminds me of the Monopoly game, where we've just got all the properties, including Boardwalk and Park Place, but we don't have any money left to build houses or hotels. But I do want to make a point that there is a great deal of empathy here on the part of Americans, and there's a lot of private work that's beginning, including the sending of 2,000 farmers sometime during the next couple of years to actually provide help in the fields of the former Soviet Union.
Does the United States find itself between a rock and a hard place? It should help because it wants to cultivate the proper image with the new republics, but it doesn't have the money to do it anymore.
I think that sums it up pretty well, and I think we're saying to the world, look, we showed an awful lot during the Cold War period. We supported the defense of Europe, we supported the defense of Japan. Truly, the United States and the former Soviet Union spent themselves into very deep holes, and now the United States is saying, we've done our part, we'll do more, but we can't do it all.
Gerd, do you feel that the United States could do more?
Well, they certainly could, but I do not think that's the main point. I mean, the problem for the United States is kind of which leadership role they would play. And if they would like to play the kind of leadership role they played in the past, then they have, like you say it, to put the money where your mouth is. But on the other hand, and that was the issue of this conference, like the president mentioned in his opening speech, to get together a global coalition to help the Commonwealth. And I think he has done something right in that direction. I do not think that the United States want to deceive the public or look after a public relations crew or something like that. They brought together this coalition, and I think in the next few months we will see some movement in the right direction. Whether the United States gives like $5 billion or $10 billion makes a little bit of a difference. But that's not really the point.
The point is?
The point is that the problem is recognized not only by the Europeans and the Germans who gave the money up to now, but by the whole prosperous world, like the little tigers in Asia, like Japan, like the Gulf states, like South America. I mean, the South American countries have participated. Mexico has pledged some money. And I think if you take this all together, that's a good idea. And the United States showed a kind of leadership in this respect. It might have been much better if they would have come up with a little bit more money. But on the other hand, as he mentioned, there's a great deal of private activity going on. And as we know from times after the World War, the Americans can be very generous when they see need in other places, whatever their own problems are at the moment.
Speaking of not coming up with a great deal of money, I understand Japan's only coming up with about 3.1% of that total of $80 billion. And most of us acknowledge them as one of the world's wealthiest countries right now.
Well, they are the ones with all the blue chips on their side, and they're insisting on a quid pro quo. They want their islands back, which the Soviets appropriated, the 4 islands after World War II. And the Germans have made some talk about wanting the munitions factories closed before they continue the flow of money there. And perhaps the United States ought to ask for some nukes in exchange for the dollars that are going over there. But Japan, I think, has got to be persuaded to participate in this. Maybe as a way to get those islands back is to come forth with more money. They are clearly at the low end of the giver list here.
I mean, one point the German foreign minister made in this respect is the Japanese problem now about these islands is with Russia. But there are how many? 11 other republics which could be helped, you know.
You mean they can't get them back because they don't know who to ask them?
Well, I mean, they can discuss this with Russia, but there are 11 other republics which are very much open for Japanese help.
We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Muzzy is probably the most powerful and effective language learning method that I've ever seen.
It's incredible. She's just 7 years old, and she's speaking French.
Yes, French at 7, or 5, 6, or 8, or Spanish, German, or Italian. Thanks to Muzzy, the British Broadcasting Corporation's unique and award-winning video language program, you can give your child the gift of a second language, an advantage so important in their school years and for the rest of their lives. On 4 delightful videos, Muzzy and other charming animated characters in story and song quickly and easily teach children a second language.
Muzzy, très drôle. Regarde, je parle français.
Yes, that's French, and he began speaking it in just hours. You see, young minds have the proven natural ability to learn and absorb language quickly. In Europe and Asia, children learn a foreign language as early as preschool. Unfortunately, America has not kept pace with the rest of the world. But now, thanks to Muzzy, you can give the precious gift of a foreign language. Your child can join the tens of thousands of other American children who've already benefited from Muzzy and the early advantage it provides.
I feel very positive about Muzzy because as a teacher, I know it really works. Children absorb their second language in no time at all. It's simple and it's easy.
To order, use your credit card and call the toll-free number on your screen. The entire course, 4 videos, 2 audio cassettes, activity book and answer key, storybook and parent's guide is available in French, Spanish, German, or Italian. We'll ship and bill you just $26.62 a month for 6 months. If not delighted, simply return within 30 days for a full refund. Call now.
My child just loves it. I can't believe how much she's learned.
Merci beaucoup, Mama.
Give your child the early advantage he or she deserves. Call 1-800-257-0700. That's 1-800-257-0700. We'll ship and charge you just $26.62 per month for 6 months. So order now.
Welcome back to International Correspondents. I'm Carl Rochelle in Washington. With me are Tom Brazaitis with the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Gerd Bruggeman with the German newspaper Der Welt, and Vladislav Drobkov with Pravda. Mr. Drobkov, we were talking about the islands. Will Japan get the islands back? Are they likely to get them back? Is there a quid pro quo
It's
here?
a very difficult question for us and for Japanese, and I think that it should be... There is a good idea before. Let's the next generation to decide this, because it's a very difficult question for us to cut off a part of our territory as we claim it, or for Japanese to leave for us the part of their territory as they claim it. Let's keep it like it is. Let's start more open exchanges. For example, a lot of things have changed. Quite a number of Japanese can now go, travel, and be at these islands. And there are more exchanges, economic and just social exchanges between us. Let's wait a little bit. Don't decide forever such questions as it is, because it's a very difficult and complicated questions, and both Japanese and our scientists, they still quarrel whose islands are these. Nearly nobody can agree on really what is this still the part of the Kuril Islands, or is it a part of Japanese islands moving close together? It's very difficult. It's very, let us wait.
Yeah, Gerd brought up a topic earlier, and I'd like to return to that now, the question about the nuclear, not the weapon so much as the nuclear physicists.
It's very important, a very difficult question for us, and I think that the idea which was put forward by the Minister Genscher, it seems to me it's a very good idea of creating some kind of international institution or international fund helping those science scientists who are now actually without work and who are facing great problems in their institutions, in their laboratories. Let them find out proper, good, and well-paid civil work for develop any kind of new technologies, because they are brilliant people. Don't let them out in the cold just waiting for someone to come and grab them.
You're afraid of that, aren't you?
Well, we truly are, and I mean, that's the idea behind this international foundation, which Genscher discussed on Tuesday, I think, in a bilateral talk with Secretary Baker. But I have tried very much to find out what's behind the idea, and in these last days in Washington, as far as I can see, everything has stayed very vague, you know, and...
It's been talked about, but nobody's done anything.
Yeah. I mean, if you have to have a foundation and give these ladies and gentlemen what he calls a decent salary, you have to put money into this foundation to pay them, and nobody has mentioned any way to get it together.
It seems to me that there are still, and there are already quite a number of examples of such work to go a little by little. And I know that several very high-level delegations of American scientists, American entrepreneurs, and representatives of the State Department and Department of Defense visited quite a number of our scientific institutions dealing with the defense problems.
Can you give us any idea how many people are involved in that?
Dozens and maybe hundreds of people already.
Well, there are a few hundred, according to testimony just before the Senate by CIA Director Gates, who points out there are people with money in Libya and in Syria and perhaps elsewhere who are willing to lure these scientists. The brain drain is much more frightening to American intelligence planners than are the nukes themselves, since even if they fall into foreign hands, they might not be able to run them.
In just a moment. We need to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Yours free, Charles Bronson in Death Wish 3. Details coming at you. The streets were out of control, and the law was out to lunch. Until one man refused to take any more. Bronson is bad. Bad news for bad guys.
What I want comes first.
Now you can own the best of Bronson in the Charles Bronson collection from Time Life Video. Starting with Death Wish, yours at this special discount, just $9.99. Bronson's family is destroyed by the lowlife. So he teaches them the meaning of the word vigilante. It's Bronson at his baddest, and it's yours with a simple phone call. Other videos in the collection include The Mechanic, Mr. Majestic, Telephone, and 10 to Midnight. Order now, and if you use your credit card, you'll get Death Wish 3 absolutely free. That way, Death Wish and Death Wish 3 are both yours for just $9.99. Other videos will arrive every 6 weeks. Buy only the ones you want. Cancel anytime. The Charles Bronson Collection. Take the law into your own hands and call.
Call now to get Death Wish for just $9.99 plus shipping and handling. Use your credit card and get Death Wish 3 absolutely free. Other videos will follow, one about every 6 weeks. Keep only those you want. Cancel anytime. So call now, 1-800-542-4300. That's 1-800-542-4300.
Educators, put the power of video into your classroom and honor Black History Month. Turner Multimedia has a unique library of programs that examine today's issues and the contributions of black men and women. For a free catalog, call 1-800-344-6219.
For more than 50 years, people like you have collected federal duck stamps, and that's helped to protect more than 4 million acres of national wildlife refuge. To find out more, write Duck Stamp, Washington, D.C., 20240.
Mr. Brazaitis, we're talking about not hardware, we're talking about brains and minds and whether the Soviet Union is willing to let someone else own them. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, I certainly hope so from the world's standpoint. I think when there were two superpowers and they were in an arms race, it was scary, but at least we knew where most of the nuclear weapons were. If we've got scientists who, because their lifestyle has changed so much for the worse, are fleeing to other more dangerous countries and helping develop nuclear programs, or if missiles are being sold, not so much that other countries could immediately use them because they have fail-safe systems on them, but the materials that comprise those missiles can be converted to other weapons if countries so choose. So nuclear proliferation, I think, is the issue of the 90s and the next century.
Mr. Drobkov, are you taking steps within your own country to keep something like that from happening, to keep terrorists from getting those mines?
I think there are some steps which should be taken, and I'm quite sure that they are taking, but it's very difficult now in the upheaval of the whole system and when nearly all of the relations between different states and different republics are
But you must be almost as afraid as we are of these mines getting out and getting loose.
Yes, I do. Personally, I do.
Yeah. Mr. Bruggeman?
Well, I mean, we are very close to that area, and we hope that this proliferation issue can be solved. I do not think that there will be any misuse in the Commonwealth states, but I mean, there are states who are very eager to get to the scientists and to the weapons available, and I hope that the world community is able to find a way to solve the human problem with the scientists and the hardware problem with the weapons.
Are you afraid if we don't put money in that they will go out?
Well, I do not think that's a money problem in the first place. It's to find a way for these people to find decent work, and I do not think that they are asking salaries like American chief executive officers.
Gerd, thank you very much. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. Tom Brazaitis with the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Gerd Bruggeman with the Welt, and Vladislav Drobkov with Pravda. I'm Carl Rochelle in Washington for International Correspondents. Good day.
I'm Steve Crocker at the CNN Center in Atlanta. We'll have the hour's top stories in just a moment, but first a look at what's ahead on Sports Late Night with Tom Steiner.
We got a lot of tennis, Steve. We got hockey, basketball, all on the way, including a surprisingly one-sided Australian Open men's final. We'll have all the latest on the eve of Super Bowl 26. And the top three college basketball powers all remained undefeated. And in the NBA, the Chicago Bulls seek to stretch their winning streak to a baker's dozen. All that and more coming up momentarily on Sports Late Night with Bob Lorenz and me. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks, Tom. President Bush's new budget may appeal to both the rich and the poor. Sunday's New York Times lists a few items that will be in the proposal sent to Congress next week. Among them, repealing the 10% luxury tax on yachts, doubling the budget for fighting tuberculosis, and spending more on child welfare programs and community health centers, and increasing funds for the National Health Service Corps, which places doctors in areas that need them most. About 10% of the Haitians who have been approved to seek political asylum in the U.S. reportedly have the AIDS virus. Immigration officials are processing thousands of Haitian refugees at the U.S. Navy base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Those who have strong asylum claims are tested for HIV and other infectious diseases. The Miami Herald reports of the candidates approved so far, about 120 are affected. Well, some football fans in Buffalo are warming up to the Super Bowl with a bonfire. The Bills fans threw a dummy of Washington quarterback Mark Rippon into flames. An imitation Redskin playbook was also tossed into the blaze as well. It's just one of the parties leading up to Super Sunday's big game between the Redskins and the Bills, rather. Sports Late Night is coming up next as CNN Weekend continues.
Mince fresh herbs and spices, slice or dice celery, onions, garlic, chop nuts, and make homemade pasta too. Introducing Roll-O-Magic, the hand-controlled food processor that works like a power mower, as its 5 supersized magical roller blades chop onions and minced garlic as coarse or fine as you like. Mince fresh parsley, basil, and dill. Slice or dice celery for salads or stir-fry dishes. Make carrot sticks and celery sticks. Turn cabbage into coleslaw or health salad. Make homemade pasta and noodles. Roll-O-Magic is easy to clean. Just wash and let not dry. Its blades are stainless steel and never need sharpening. The pressure of your hand is all that's needed. Roll-O-Magic can be yours for only $19.95. Get a mincer, slicer, dicer, chopper, and pasta maker. Plus, you'll also get this special recipe book and guide to fresh herbs and spices.
Credit card users call toll-free 1-800-257